Hello, Divine Beings. My name is D. Apollo Chi, they, them pronouns. Welcome. And today we are going to be talking about trauma and the mind. Now, as always, I open up this space, setting the intention that I am a clear, pure channel, the highest light, the highest love, the highest truth, rooted in the highest good for the collective today, with clarity. I thank my spiritual team for helping me remain in energetic sovereignty as I open myself up to be a clear channel. Isa. So, we're talking about trauma and the brain. Now, the aspect of this I want to dial in on today is about the left and right hemisphere. And seeing this from a holistic perspective, and holistic and integrative perspective, mind, body, and soul. Now, my definition of trauma is anything that keeps you in disharmony with your original core energetic blueprint, your soul, for an extended amount of time, such that it creates dis-ease and disorder in the mind, the body, and the soul. Now, we're moving up now to the mental body. The mental body is the mind. It is the energy field associated with the mind. And one thing that happens when we experience a traumatic experience, so an experience that has a huge electrical charge, such that it impacts our energy and physical system, and is not able to be properly processed outwards or released as everything is meant to be in flow within us, is that it can create an imprint within our mental, our mental energetic body. Now, when it comes to the traumatic experience, often there is an imprint of a belief taken from that experience. For example, when I was a child and I experienced repeated levels of abandonment from my family, that created a sustained electrical charge that was not dissipated, complex PTSD, creating the belief that I was not good enough, a false belief that I've had to transmute into I am more than enough. So right now, actually, I'm going to do that, calling in the light codes to transmute I am not enough to I am more than enough. And so this is just one example of the ways in which these traumatic experiences lead to different beliefs and narratives that you can hold on to, right? And so when it comes to the mental body, one thing that happens is that when a traumatic experience occurs, your energy becomes attached to that event because it holds such a strong imprint within your being. Now, the past, the present, and the future are all happening at the same time. And so as you move forward into life, there is still a strong piece of your being energetically attached to that event. A strong electrical charge attached to that event within your mental body. And while it might not be at the forefront of your mind, in the subconscious, it is there replaying and creating that belief and narrative, such that your filter in which you see the world is now colored by that experience or experiences. It is your perspective of the world that informs your experience of it. And each and every single one of us has within our brain a network called the RAS. Now, the RAS is the reticular activating system. It is a system of nerves that helps control our sleeping and waking, our fight or flight responses, the ways in which we regulate behavioral arousal, our consciousness, and our motivation. So let's just think of it as like a cap of interlacing nerves that are in our brain. And so when our RAS is not properly functioning, we experience disruption within sleep, within our levels of consciousness and our ability to spiritually evolve and grow, as well as an increased arousal or sense of fight and flight, fawn, feign response. It becomes dysregulated. Now, what actually is happening is that there is a disruption within the energy of our mental body. So this is one of the things that happens with trauma, right? From a very neurological perspective. Now, if we look in the back end, got to look at the hardware, I like to say. Our hardware is our energy systems. It is our soul, subtle bodies. And that mental body, the electrical charge associated with that traumatic experience is still running in the background in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious rules 70 to 80% of your life. It's the coding that is going on that tells you in your day-to-day how to move, act, and respond based on your RAS and what is encoded there, what the nerves are hooked up to. And so part of the process of being able to heal the mind, remember that these traumatic experiences keep part of our energy in the past, is to bring that energy back to the present. And not only bring it back, is to retrieve our energy from that, from the past to the present moment. And this is where practices such as mindfulness are really important, and meditation. Because the power of meditation occurs when we meditate. Every time we meditate and we bring our awareness to our present selves and we focus on ourselves, we are calling back our energy to the present moment over and over and over again. The mind wanders, you bring it back. The mind wanders, you bring it back. You have this thought, this memory, that flashback, you bring it back to the present moment, and you train your energy to come back. You train your soul to come back if done on a quantum level. This is the power of open awareness and non-judgment in the present moment when it comes to our mind and trauma. So, now on terms of one of the ways that, actually, let's go back to trauma and the neurology. Science has shown that in folks who experience traumatic experiences or prolonged traumatic experiences in their lives, that their left brain and their right brain aren't talking to each other. It's disjointed. Now you know that your left brain is associated with your masculine energy, logic, rationality, empiricism, linear thinking, and your right brain is associated with your feminine energy, creativity, intuition, imagination. Now, the ultimate way in which we are meant to be and exist in this life is to be in perfect harmony, which is both brains, your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere, are talking to one another, communicating with one another, such that there is no one that is, I was going to say, heavily favored. They are both working equally in tandem with each other. The right informs the left informs the right. And when it comes to experiencing traumatic experiences, this isn't the case. So what happens in a brain that or a person that experienced a lot of trauma is that it activates your right hemisphere, right? And remember, right is all about intuitive, emotional, the visual, the creative, the spatial, artistic. I also mentioned that, I didn't mention this, but it also relates to memories of sound, touch, and smell. And so in this brain, these are all activated, right? It is a part of your brain that does not perceive time. It deactivates the left side of your brain, your masculine, which is all about time and linear and logic and rationality. And so this is important to note because on an energetic level, on a subtle energy level, what is happening, where I mentioned that when you have a traumatic experiences, part of your energy stays in the past. And once you leave the third dimension, the fourth dimension, the dimension of imagination, the dimension of energy, time and space do not exist. And thus, you are connected to that event outside of time and space. And thus, your right side of your brain becomes more active. Your feminine side of your brain becomes more active. Because there's an event that you are attached to in the past that is pulling you there, energetically, mentally, emotionally. This is why flashbacks occur often in people who experience a lot of PTSD. Not who experience a lot of who experience a lot of trauma and have been diagnosed as having PTSD or CPTSD, which is what I had, but healed myself from. You begin to receive a lot of visual flashbacks, emotional flashbacks, because that part of your brain is more active. because your energy is more pulled to a part of the past. And so when you begin to bring your energy back to the present, when you begin to literally retrieve, and this is talking from now a shamanic perspective, you begin to retrieve parts of your soul, parts of the aspects of your energy body that are in the past, you begin to bring it back to the present. And as you do so, the left side of your brain begins to become more active. Then you begin to you begin to process the experience through a logical realm. To begin to understand, yes, that happened in the past. I am not there. I am here in the present. I am safe in the present. Or whatever it may be that you're processing through. And that's part of what happens on a somatic level, not on our body level, to help us be in the present. Saying, yes, I'm in my body, I'm in the present, I'm in the time of now, which is left brain. Left brain. And so our left brain is all about communication, cognition, movement. And so as we begin to heal and bring back those parts of ourselves, you will notice that a lot of somatic practices, when it comes to healing trauma, will assist one in moving through their trauma and physically playing out what they didn't get when the trauma happened physically. And then also being able to understand cognition, rationality, logic, understand their trauma from a different perspective. Again, that's left brain. And as you understand it, you can communicate it and begin to communicate and talk about it in a different way, which means changing the narrative. Left brain. So I hope I am laying out here the mind, the body, and the soul, holistic, integrative healing that is happening here when it comes to trauma and our mental body. Because on a mental body perspective, we have a narrative of what has happened. Our bodies have a embodied story of what is happening regarding the sounds, the smells, the taste, and understanding. And then on an energetic experience, our soul, our energy is attached to what has happened. And so to detach and bring parts of our energy body back, to reprogram not only the understanding, but the narrative, and then to process the energies so then we can communicate and move into life from the now moment where the flashbacks are no longer happening. It requires a holistic, integrative perspective. Now you may say, well, if I'm not getting the shamanic or the energy work, the healing done, are you saying I can't heal? And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, and I hope that you are understanding that one can heal their trauma from a somatics, mind-body perspective, a common integration of a body perspective, nervous system perspective, but also mind perspective. And I want you to have understanding of what is actually happening on an energy level, on a soul level, when you're actually doing this healing. And what's actually going on in your mental, subtle energy body. And that if one were to engage in the energy work and the shamanic healing, in addition to the mind and body, those practices, you would have a faster, I don't promise anything, but you will have a faster, what is a better word for that? A more holistic healing that is able to deeply get to the root of what the issue, right? Our energy body is the largest parts of ourselves, these physical bodies that we have are the densest and smallest parts of our human being. Our human being consists of both matter and energy. And so when we allow ourselves and we have the opportunity to access healing on the energetic quantum realm, that will inevitably show up within our physical mind body. And thus we have treated the root. The root. This creates healing that can seem sometimes miraculous. The months and months and years that people typically think about trauma healing can be condensed. Because I healed myself from 15 plus chronic mental illnesses. And less than 3 years. That's what I'll say. In 3 years. And a lot of those were mental. CPTSD, major depression, anxiety. Amongst others. And so what I'm explaining here is as a master healer, spiritual master, astro alchemist, is that this understanding of the holistic integrative perspective is necessary and key for your trauma healing. It is necessary and key for the world, the healing of the world. Now, that's the left brain, right brain. I'm going to actually stop here for this part of this will be a part 1. There's a part 2 I would like to do to talk about trauma in the brain, which will relate to the different parts of the brain. We have our reptilian brain, our prefrontal cortex, and others that I want to really talk through from an ancient wisdom and knowledge perspective. And everything I'm sharing, when I talk about the soul and the energy, is knowledge that is coming from ancient civilizations. And the remnants of ancient civilizations all around the world that were rooted in the same knowledge. And I always want to clarify that because this isn't modern. This is what people have always known. Now we have modern science, right? The modern part of it is the somatics, it's the mindfulness, it's the nervous system and understanding the left brain, right brain, and this nerve and that nerve from that perspective. So that's part 1, and I'll stop there. As always, thank you. I don't take it for granted. And I'm grateful for you for showing up for yourself, for your healing, for your well-being, for your embodiment of your highest self, to live your best life, because that's what this is all about, y'all. We heal so that we can live our best lives, so that we can liberate ourselves from all that is not aligned. And as we liberate ourselves and we begin to live lives of peace and joy and harmony and emotional fulfillment and abundance, then each person, one at a time, we create a world that is rooted in that peace, joy, harmony, source. It's the essence of source. Unconditional love for self, for others, and a peaceful world. So thank you. I'm going to close off the space and thank my spiritual team and guides for helping me remain in energetic integrity and to communicate this and channel this information to you in a way that is clear and understandable, relatable. I close off this space. Take care deeply. Before we go, I ask and invite you to take 3 deep breaths with me. From the belly, 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 belly. Out through the mouth. beautiful. I love you. Peace.